It's not that your life has changed overnight. It's that you have stopped being who you were, and the universe is responding to who you truly are now. Brother, if you're here, it's because something inside you has ended. It's not a crisis. It's not a depression. It's not a simple transformation. It's the end of a cycle that you've been building for years, perhaps lifetimes. You've been waking up little by little, perhaps without realizing it, sensing that something big was approaching. And now everything seems different. You look in the mirror, and even though you're still you, something doesn't fit. It's as if your soul has taken a step forward, and your mind is still trying to catch up. Everything that once excited you now seems superficial. Relationships, work, even your own thoughts. Nothing seems to hold the same weight. You're not crazy. You're not broken. You're just waking up. And when spiritual awakening comes to an end, it's not like a happy ending in a movie. It's more like a turning point where everything you knew fades away to make room for something completely new. It's as if you've been climbing a mountain for years, and just when you reach the top, you discover that the real journey is just beginning. This is not a video for the faint of heart. It's for those who have walked through fire, who have looked darkness in the face and emerged transformed. If you feel you've reached the end of something great, this message is for you. Because when your awakening ends, the signs begin. Strange, disturbing, powerful signs, things you can't explain, that normal people don't understand, but that you know deep down are real. And if you feel you're emerging from an intense spiritual cycle, write in the comments, "Yes, I'm ready." Because what you're about to hear isn't theory, it's experience, it's revealed truth. It's what happens when you stop seeking and start being. When your spiritual awakening comes to an end, one of the first things you experience is this overwhelming feeling of not belonging anywhere. It's not nostalgia, it's not sadness. It's a profound disconnection from everything you once considered home. Think of it this way. For years, perhaps decades, you've been living a life that wasn't truly yours. Perhaps following family expectations, social norms, roles you never chose. But now, after that intense internal process, after staring your fears in the face, confronting your shadows, reconnecting with your purest essence, you can no longer pretend that life is yours. It's as if you've been wearing a mask your entire existence, and suddenly, you take it off. And even though you're still you, the world no longer recognizes you. Because the world knew the mask, not you. You start looking at your own home and feel like it's not yours. You look at your family, your friends, your co-workers, and even though you love them, there's a distance you can't bridge. It's not that you've judged them. It's not that you hate them. It's that they no longer vibrate on the same frequency as you. You feel like a stranger in your own life, as if you've woken up in a body that isn't yours, in a reality that no longer belongs to you. And that hurts. It hurts because you've stopped being someone, but you still don't know who you really are. It's a feeling of spiritual orphanhood, as if you've lost your home, but you don't know where to look for it. Because your true home isn't in a physical place. It's in a dimension of consciousness you're still learning to inhabit, and this isn't temporary. This is real. Because when your awakening ends, your soul has changed dimensions, even if your body is still here, and the physical world isn't ready to receive those who no longer live in illusion. People begin to look at you differently. They don't say it, but they feel it. They feel that you are no longer the same. That there is something about you that makes them uncomfortable, that makes them feel small, that reminds them of everything they have repressed. And you, brother, feel that too. You feel that you no longer fit in, that you can no longer play the same game, that the rules have changed, and even if you try to adapt, something inside you resists. This is the first sign, the end of the old identity, the beginning of something you cannot yet name. Because you have no words for what you are now, you only know that you are no longer who you were. And though this sounds isolating, though it seems lonely, it is necessary. Because you can't build a new house while still living in the old one. You can't be free while still tied to what no longer serves you. So allow this feeling. Don't judge it. Don't avoid it. Let it be. Because it is part of the process. It is the price you pay for having chosen truth over comfort. You are a soul in transition, a mutating being, and the world is not ready for you yet. But that's all right, because you are ready for the world to come. When your spiritual awakening reaches its peak, one of the most intense experiences you go through is this overwhelming duality, a profound loneliness, but at the same time, a freedom you've never felt before. It's as if you've climbed a mountain so high that you can no longer see anyone else. You're alone, but not lonely. You're isolated, yet at peace. It's a paradox that only someone who has completed their awakening can understand. The loneliness you feel isn't the loneliness of absence. It's the loneliness of wholeness. Because you've stopped needing external validation. You've stopped looking for reflections in the eyes of others. You no longer need the world to tell you who you are, because you already know. But that also means that many of your old connections begin to fade. Shallow conversations no longer make sense. The distractions that once kept you entertained now seem like noise. And when you're in a crowded room, you feel lonelier than ever. Because no one there can meet you where you are. No one can understand the silence that now dwells in your heart. No one can feel the depth of what you've experienced. And that hurts. It hurts because the human heart needs connection. But it's also liberating. Liberating because for the first time in your life, you are completely alone with yourself. No masks, no roles, no characters to play. It is in this silence that you begin to hear the voice of your soul. It is not an audible voice. It is not a word you can repeat. It is a feeling of peace that needs no explanation. It is a knowing that needs no demonstration. The freedom you experience in this solitude is absolute. You are no longer bound by the opinions of others. You no longer fear judgment because you have stopped needing approval. You no longer chase illusions because you have found reality. But it is also terrifying because when you are completely alone, without distractions, without evasions, without masks, you come face to face with who you truly are, and that can be overwhelming. It's as if you've been living in a cave your whole life, and suddenly you step out into the sunlight. At first, it blinds you, dazzles you, but little by little your eyes adjust, and you begin to see with a clarity you never imagined. This solitude isn't a punishment, it's a gift, because only in solitude can you find yourself. Only in silence can you hear the truth. Only in the absence of distractions can you connect with what truly matters. And even if people drift away, even if connections are severed, even if you feel misunderstood, remember, you are exactly where you need to be. The only place where you can be completely yourself. Has this happened to you? Write "I am here" in the comments. Brother, when your spiritual awakening comes to an end, one of the most powerful signs you experience is that you stop searching for answers. You no longer need books, teachers, gurus, techniques, or methods. You have reached the end of the path of external knowledge, and now true internal knowledge begins. For years, perhaps your entire life, you've been searching. Searching for truth, searching for purpose, searching for peace, searching for love. You've read self-help books, followed spiritual methods, practiced meditations, attended retreats, sought out teachers, followed paths, tried religions, and explored philosophies. And all of that has had its purpose. All of that has brought you here. But now, something has changed. You no longer feel the need to search further. It's not that you've become lazy or disinterested. It's that you've reached such a profound understanding that all the answers you were seeking have been found within you. It's as if you've been searching the neighborhood for your house keys, and suddenly you realize you've had them in your pocket the whole time. The search is over, not because you've found all the answers, but because you've realized that true wisdom lies not in the answers, but in the ability to live without them. You no longer need anyone to tell you who you are. You no longer need any book to explain how you should live. You no longer need any teacher to show you the path, because the teacher you were seeking was always within you. This liberation from seeking is absolute. You no longer feel the need to read another spiritual book. You no longer feel the urge to attend another workshop or seminar. You no longer search for the next great revelation, because you have realized that everything you need to know, you already know. and this can be disconcerting to those who are still searching. They don't understand how you can be at peace without continuing to search. They don't understand how you can be content without having all the answers. But you know something they haven't yet discovered, that peace doesn't come from answers, but from accepting that you don't need them. Your silence now speaks louder than any words. Your presence now conveys more than any teaching, because you have stopped accumulating knowledge and begun living from the knowledge you already possess. This is one of the clearest signs that your awakening has ended. When you stop searching, when you stop needing more information, when you realize that everything you need is here and now, within you. You are no longer on the mountain seeking the summit. You are already at the top, seeing the landscape clearly. And even though others are still climbing, you know that the true journey is not upward, but inward. Help us reach more people with this message. Subscribe, like, and share your strangest sign in the comments. When your spiritual awakening reaches its conclusion, you experience a fascinating paradox. Life becomes extremely simple, yet at the same time, completely confusing. It's as if you've reduced everything to its most basic essence, but that simplicity leaves you unsure of what to do with what's left. Before, your life was filled with complexities, decisions, plans, goals, projects. You had an endless list of things you wanted to accomplish, people you wanted to impress, achievements you wanted to achieve. Everything had a purpose, a direction, a meaning that you believed was important. But now, after you've completed your awakening, all that fades away. It's not that you've lost the ability to think or plan, it's that you no longer see the need to do so. Things that once seemed crucial to you now seem irrelevant. The goals you once pursued no longer carry the same weight. The simplicity you experience is overwhelming. You no longer need 10 reasons to make a decision. You no longer need to justify your actions. You no longer need to prove anything to anyone. Everything is reduced to the essentials: being, breathing, feeling, living. But here comes the confusion. Because even though everything is simple, you don't know what to do with that simplicity. Before you had a map, a plan, a direction. Now you have absolute freedom, and that can be terrifying. It's as if you've been navigating with a compass your whole life, and suddenly the compass stops. You know you're on the right path, but you no longer know which way it points. The direction has disappeared, not because you're lost, but because you no longer need a direction. This simplicity is also reflected in your relationships. You no longer need to have complex conversations to connect with someone. A glance, a silence, an authentic presence is enough. But that can also confuse you because you don't know how to act in a world that expects complexity. Work, responsibilities, even your own thoughts become simpler. There's no more drama, no more stress, no more anxiety. But then, what do you do with your time? What do you do with your energy? What do you do with your life? It's a profound existential confusion. It's not the confusion of not knowing, but the confusion of knowing too much. You know it's all an illusion, but you're still here. You know everything is fine, but you don't know what to do. You know you're free, but you don't know how to use that freedom. And this confusion is necessary, because you can't move from complexity to mastery without going through this phase of simplification. You can't live from the essence without first letting go of everything superfluous. Purpose fades, and that's scary, because your whole life you've lived with a defined purpose, and now that purpose no longer exists. But in its place is something far more powerful: presence, the ability to be here and now without needing a greater purpose. This is the fourth sign. Life becomes simple yet confusing, because you're no longer living to get somewhere. You're already in the right place, and that, to the mind, is completely bewildering. When your spiritual awakening comes to an end, your physical body begins to experience transformations that can be disconcerting, but are an integral part of the process of spiritual integration. It's not just fatigue or temporary discomfort, it's a complete reconfiguration of your energetic system. You begin to notice unexplained pains that have no apparent medical cause. Pain in your heart that isn't physical, but that you feel deeply. Pressure in your head, especially on the crown of your head or between your eyes. Strange sensations in your chest, as if something is opening or closing, tingling in your hands and feet, cramps that come and go for no apparent reason. It's not that you're sick, it's that your body is releasing old memories, energetic patterns that no longer serve you, and is adapting to a new frequency. Vibratory. It's as if your nervous system is being recalibrated, as if every cell in your body is remembering its true nature. Extreme sensitivity is another common sign. Suddenly, sounds become unbearable. Sunlight bothers you more than usual. Other people's energies affect you deeply. Even smells you didn't notice before can now make you feel ill. Your body has become an energy measuring instrument, and it perceives everything with overwhelming clarity. Unexplained fatigue is also becoming common. It's not laziness or depression. It's your body processing information of dimensions your conscious mind can't even comprehend. It's integrating spiritual experiences, downloading old programs, and rebuilding itself from scratch. Sometimes you feel intense heat in certain parts of your body, especially your heart and head. Other times you feel extreme cold that has no relation to the ambient temperature. These temperature changes are indicators that your energy system is being activated and cleansed. You may also experience sensations of expansion, as if your body were growing or dissolving. These are moments when you feel like you're leaving your body or that your consciousness is extending beyond your physical limits. These are not hallucinations. They are real experiences of expanded consciousness. Sleep becomes irregular. Sometimes you need much more sleep. Other times you can go days with very little sleep and feel perfectly fine. Your eating patterns also change. You suddenly lose your appetite, or you become picky eaters in a way that wasn't present before. These physical changes can be frightening to those who don't understand them. People ask if you're okay, if you've been to the doctor, if you need help. But you know this isn't illness. It's evolution. It's your body remembering who you really are. Your body is being prepared for a new way of existing. It's no longer just a physical vessel. It's becoming a vehicle of light, an instrument for expressing your expanded consciousness on the physical plane. And this process, although it may be uncomfortable, is necessary and natural. If you felt this, leave a heart in the comments. One of the most painful but revealing signs when your spiritual awakening is ending is when people begin to distance themselves from you. It's not a conscious rejection. It's not that they hate you or want to hurt you. It's a natural separation that occurs when your vibrational frequency changes and you are no longer in tune with those who previously shared your reality. Think of it like tuning into a radio station. For years, you've been tuned into the same station as everyone around you. They shared your worries, your dreams, your fears, your forms of entertainment. But now, after your awakening, your frequency has changed. And even if you try to stay connected, the signal is no longer clear. Some people withdraw subtly. Conversations become awkward. They feel like they can't connect with you the way they used to. Your responses aren't the same. You're no longer interested in the same things. You no longer react the same way to situations that once deeply affected you. Others distance themselves more directly. They stop calling you, inviting you to their events, or sharing their worries and dramas with you. It's not that they've judged or rejected you, it's that they simply no longer vibrate on the same frequency as you. And this hurts. It hurts because the human heart needs connection. It hurts because you've lost friends you thought were eternal. It hurts because you feel like you're losing your place in the world. But it's also liberating, because you're no longer forcing connections that no longer serve you. You're not the same, and that's uncomfortable. Not because you've changed for the worse, but because you've evolved. And evolution always makes those who aren't yet ready to change uncomfortable. Your aura has changed, and it shows. Energy-sensitive people notice it, even if they can't explain it. Some even feel threatened by your transformation, not because they want to hurt you, but because your change reminds them of everything they've repressed within themselves. Seeing someone truly free reminds them of their own prison, and that can create discomfort and even resistance. But there are also those who reach out, people who are in their own awakening process, soulmates, masters, guides. People who vibrate on your new frequency and who can accompany you in this new chapter of your life. This separation isn't a punishment. It's a natural cleansing. It's the universe helping you release what no longer serves you to make room for what does. You can't build a new life while still tied to connections from the past. And even though this hurts, remember that you're not losing anything real. You're gaining freedom. You're gaining authenticity. You're gaining the ability to connect with people who truly understand and complement you. True loneliness isn't being alone. It's being surrounded by people who don't understand you. And now that you're alone, but free, you're closer to finding the real connections you need. When your spiritual awakening reaches its conclusion, one of the most profound transformations you experience is the disappearance of fear. It's not that you've become reckless or foolhardy. It's that you've faced the worst in yourself and discovered that even that can't destroy you. For years, perhaps your entire life, you've lived in fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough, fear of not being loved, fear of loneliness, fear of death. But more than all those fears, you've lived with the fear of yourself, the fear of discovering who you really are, the fear of facing your shadows, your traumas, your flaws, your mistakes, the fear of seeing the darkness that dwells within. That fear has been the most paralyzing because until you confront that part of yourself, you could never be completely free. But during your awakening process, you've done exactly that. You've looked darkness in the face. You've faced your deepest fears. You've accepted your shadows. You've forgiven your mistakes. You've understood your traumas. And in that process, you've discovered something revelatory. Even the worst in you can't destroy you. You've discovered that you are stronger than you imagine, more loving than you believed, more whole than you thought. And that revelation has removed the fundamental fear that kept you chained. You no longer fear failure because you know that every experience is an opportunity to learn and grow. You no longer fear rejection because your worth doesn't depend on the approval of others. You no longer fear loneliness because you've learned to be at peace with yourself. You no longer fear the future because you have understood that the present is all that truly exists. You no longer fear the past because you have forgiven and released what no longer serves you. You no longer fear death because you have touched eternity within you. But most importantly, you no longer fear yourself. You've stopped judging yourself, criticizing yourself, punishing yourself for your mistakes. You've understood that you're human, that you're learning, that you're evolving, and that understanding has eliminated the inner fear that tormented you. This absence of fear is not naivete. It is wisdom. It is not unconsciousness. It is expanded awareness. You have understood that fear was only an illusion, a mental construct that kept you from your true nature. You are transparent with yourself. You see yourself as you are, without masks, without defenses, without lies. And instead of destroying you, that honesty has set you free. Because you have discovered that even your flaws have a purpose. Even your mistakes have lessons. Even your darkness has light. This freedom from fear is absolute. You no longer need to protect yourself because you know nothing can truly hurt you. You no longer need to prove anything because you know who you are. You no longer need to control anything because you trust the flow of life. You have stopped fighting against yourself, and in that inner peace, you have found true freedom. When your spiritual awakening comes to an end, one of the most extraordinary experiences you begin to experience is that time blurs. You no longer experience reality in a linear fashion. The past, present, and future begin to merge into a continuous experience of eternal now. Before, your life was marked by the clock. You had important dates, deadlines to meet, goals to achieve at specific times. You live by the calendar, the clock, the seasons. Time was either your enemy or your ally, depending on how it affected you. But now, after completing your awakening, time no longer has the same power over you. You no longer feel the urgency to do things. You no longer worry about being on time or missing opportunities. You no longer plan for the future or cling to the past. You live effortlessly in the now. It's not that you've stopped planning or being responsible, it's that you've understood that everything is happening in the eternal present. The past is only a memory, the future is only a possibility, but the now is the only true reality. You begin to experience extraordinary synchronicities, events that seem like coincidences but have profound meaning, perfect encounters at the perfect time, answers that arrive just when you need them, as if time has bent to serve you. Sometimes you feel you can see the future clearly, not as a prediction, but as a possibility that already exists in the now. Other times you delve into the past and understand events that previously made no sense. Time becomes bidirectional, multidimensional. Hours pass without you noticing. You can meditate for what seems like a moment and discover that hours have passed. Or you can live a second so intensely that it seems like an eternity. Time expands and contracts according to your state of consciousness. This experience can be disconcerting for those who still live in the illusion of linear time. They don't understand how you can be calm without looking at the clock. They don't understand how you can live without deadlines or pressing deadlines. But you know something they haven't yet discovered. You have touched eternity within you. You have understood that time is only a mental construct, a useful but limited tool. And although you still use clocks and calendars for convenience, you are no longer subject to the tyranny of time. Time no longer controls you because you have discovered that you are the creator of time. Not in an egoic sense, but in the deepest sense. Your consciousness is what gives meaning to the experience of time. In this state of expanded awareness, past, present, and future coexist in the eternal now. And you are the conscious observer of all possibilities simultaneously. Have you ever felt that time no longer makes sense? Write it down below. The ninth and final sign you experience when your spiritual awakening reaches its end is perhaps the most powerful of all. Everything begins to make sense, but without the need to understand it. It's a paradox that only those who have completed their spiritual journey can fully understand. For years, perhaps your entire life, you've been searching for an understanding of life. You wanted logical answers, rational explanations, clear reasons for everything that happened. You needed to understand why things happened, why you suffered, why you loved, why you existed. But now, after having completed your awakening, you no longer need to understand. It's not that you've lost the ability to reason or think. It's that you've realized that life doesn't need to be understood to be fully lived. Everything flows with a perfection that transcends logic. Coincidences that once seemed like chances are now seen as part of a larger plan. Challenges that once seemed unfair are now understood as opportunities for growth. Losses that once devastated you are now accepted as part of the natural process. But you don't need to understand why. You don't need to find logical explanations for every experience. You simply know, deep down, that everything is okay, that everything has its place, that everything serves a greater purpose beyond your limited understanding. It's as if you've gone from being a student who needs detailed explanations to being a teacher who simply knows. You don't need to demonstrate, you don't need to justify, you don't need to prove. You simply trust. This trust isn't blind, it's wisdom. You've seen enough, experienced enough, understood enough to know that life knows what it's doing, that the universe has a plan that transcends your analytical mind. You no longer need to explain your life to others. You no longer need to justify your decisions. You no longer need to prove that you're right, because you've understood that the truth needs no defense. The truth simply is. This acceptance is not resignation, it's freedom. It's the freedom to live without the burden of having to understand everything. It's the freedom to flow with life instead of fighting it. It's the freedom to trust the process without needing to control it. You have finished awakening, and now begin to create. Create not with your mind, but with your being. Create not with effort, but with presence. Create not with fear, but with love. For now you know that you are a co-creator of the universe, that your consciousness actively participates in the manifestation of reality. And even if you don't understand exactly how it works, you trust that it does. This is the final sign, the point where awakening ends and expression begins, where seeking ends and fulfillment begins, where suffering ends and joy begins. For you have stopped awakening to begin being. This is not the end of your spiritual path. It is the beginning of your true life. You have stopped awakening to begin being. If this message resonated with you, share it. And if you are ready for what's next, write, I am here.